Alright, I've got a top tip for you. If you're travelling through the United States in an RV or a camper and you're doing a landscape photography trip and you need somewhere to just get off the highway and just sleep because you're exhausted, Walmart is not necessarily the answer. Last night we spent the night at Cabela's, in the Cabela's car park. Now it's 8 AM and I think I had about 8 hours of sleep. But I do have a face like a bamboozled ostrich. What's your face like? I stole your line, didn't I? That was Amanda's line, and I just nicked it.
No, you had ostrich.
I had ostrich. But think one on the spot, surely.
I'm not good at that game.
Now, Cabela's is not paying us to mention their store in this video, but if you're watching Cabela's, get in touch, because you've got some stuff that we kind of like, so maybe we could do a little deal there. And for the Brits out there that have never been to North America and don't know what a Cabela's is, you're in for a treat.
So what's Cabela's got to do with landscape photography? Well, nothing really, but it's got plenty to do with camper van road trips in the US. It's a great place to purchase camping gear, shit tickets, hunting and fishing equipment, and if you've ever wondered what North American beasts look like up close and personal.
Turns out I didn't need to do all that hiking to photograph waterfalls. I could have just come to Cabela's. Look at these specimens. So what you tend to find in these places is the biggest specimens in the world. Like, you won't really find. Actually, I did see a grizzly bear that was bigger than that once. But usually you won't find specimens in the wild quite as big. Oh, I don't know, maybe you would actually.
What are the chances of me being lucky enough to stumble upon two wolverine facing down a wolf?
It's just amazing how they get them to keep so still. I don't know how they manage to do it. And they clean up the poo a lot as well. It doesn't even smell.
And if you listen really closely, you can actually hear them arguing amongst themselves.
I'm sick of being in this position. Count yourself lucky. Yeah, he's got it worse. Can't believe I died for this.
Have you got any snacks?
Well, I like snacks too.
He hasn't got any, Brian. That's how you ended up here.
Aye, I'm easily fooled.
We've been seeing lots of these turkeys by the side of the road. Sometimes with their little chicks, they're kind of cute.
Amanda seemed to think we were still stuck in 2020.
No, we only need one. Got to keep it light in the camper, look. Treatment for the crapper, just to keep the stench down. Look at that, you just...
That looks like a barbecue.
Just fold out the legs, sit on it, and I guess you put a bag inside it. Perhaps we don't need a full bathroom in the camper. Maybe we could downscale and get something smaller and a bit more stealthy.
I could take the bags and do things with them after.
Like fertilizer.
Yeah, or open it in your face.
I think we all know who would be creaming their apron over all of these boots. I think we know. Do you know what I think Grumpton should get? These are the boots that I think would be a little bit more suitable for his style. You know, bring him out of his shell a little bit. These. That's got Grumpton written all over it, hasn't it, love?
After a great deal of faffing about, we got back on the road to head to our destination, where we parked up the camper and began exploring.
So in today's video, we've come to the Portland Head Light, or Lighthouse, very famous. And we made the mistake of, when we left Cabela's, we needed to refuel the truck. Somehow, I don't know how, we happened in downtown Portland, and I can tell you from experience, if you've seen The Walking Dead, remember that? Yeah, that's what it's like. Feel sorry for all those businesses down there, but for me, that is a no-go zone. Oh, there's actually a few waves today. Look at this business. this rock quite fascinating. It looks like wood. It looks like just petrified wood, but it's very obviously rock. I love the grain that you can see in it. I mean, look at this. It looks almost like a rotten log. Look at that. That's not something I've ever seen before. It's a first.
So now it's my favourite time of day, composition hunting. But have you ever seen anything like this before? Post a comment and let me know what it is. Now if you spend long enough at Portland Headlight, you'll bump into an old geezer who's gonna show you a shot that he took 50 years ago, and you have got no chance of besting that. Just don't let it ruin your day.
The light's already getting a lot better. These clouds are just starting to open up enough to give you a bit of blue sky, but there's still plenty of texture and shape going on in the rest of the sky. But it's kind of moody, and then I like the light that's hitting the actual lighthouse and the rocks. So that's my kind of light. I just want a little bit more intensity to it. But it's definitely a good start. So I think I'll set up my first test shot and then play the waiting game.
The clouds are moving so quickly, I was quite optimistic that I would eventually get some magnifique light.
So I'm set up with both cameras as close together as I could get them and still get pretty much the same composition within maybe 60 seconds time difference. So just gotta sit, wait for the light to do something. It's times like this when you're waiting for the light to change. You just want to tuck into a really nice piece of celery. Delicious, said nobody.
Within half an hour of me gagging down that foulness, the light did improve somewhat.
It's sunny and rainy at the same time, which is the perfect combo for not only stormy, dramatic, contrasty light, but maybe, if I'm lucky, a rainbow. Wouldn't that be nice if I got a rainbow just cradling that lighthouse there? You know, not too much to ask, is it? Anyway, I'm shooting frantically while we've got this good light. Although, like I said, it is raining, so I don't know how long I dare keep these exposed to the rain. But I've got the umbrella, so I'll give it another minute. It might be brolly time.
Now, if you want to hear some insights into how I believe these two cameras have different strengths and weaknesses, keep watching.
While I've got a minute, I might as well just explain what's going on with my composition. Now, the sun's too bright on the back of the camera, so I can't show you what's going on there, but you get the idea. So what I've got here is this lovely foreground of these bushes with these, I think they're wild roses, beautiful sort of pink colour. Then I got these cliff edges, the waves, and then of course obviously the lighthouse with that lovely sort of misty, cloudy background. So I've got all of those elements. Now, what I would normally do, if my leg wasn't so bad, if you look down there, I'd be down on that beach trying to capture the drama and motion of those waves, because the waves are actually quite good today. I reckon this would be an absolutely killer spot to come during like a winter storm, or maybe even a hurricane. Oh man, you get fantastic shots. So I'll log that in my memory. We could probably get here in a day and a half from where we live. So that's what I would normally do, but because of my leg, I'm taking the safe route. I'm filling my foreground with nice, colourful flowers. Plus, it's a good way to test the colour difference between the Hasselblad X2D and the Fujifilm GFX 100S. Both have the same sensor, but apparently Hasselblad likes to claim that they have slightly better colours. I can tell you that the colours that I've just seen shooting with auto white balance, looking through the EVF and on the back of the camera just now, were a lot more natural looking than the Fuji. When I looked on the Fuji, at first they were kind of, whoa, those are really nice vibrant colours, but they didn't really resemble what I was looking at with the naked eye. So what do you want? Realism, or do you want hyper realism? I don't know. The other thing that I'll say about the X2D that it has as an advantage over the Fujifilm, and maybe this is because I think it's quite a bit newer, I might be wrong on that, but I think it's a newer tech, is when you want to check your focus and you play back the image, look through the EVF and then zoom in, the quality of that EVF when zoomed in to maximum is in a completely different league to the quality on the Fujifilm, it doesn't even touch it. If you zoom all the way in on the Fujifilm's playback through the EVF, it kind of gets blocky and Lego-like. When you do it on the X2D, it's crystal, absolutely crystal. So that in itself, that might be a bit of a clincher for me if I had to choose between one of these two cameras. Okay, now let's talk about one major difference between these two cameras, and that is the size of the screen on the Hasselblad is massive. It takes up most of the back of the camera, whereas on the Fujifilm it's a much smaller screen, and then you've got these knobs down the side, but you've also got knobs down the side here as well. So the only advantage that I would say that the Fuji has, it's got this joystick, which I like for moving things around in a frame, like focus points. You can still do the same thing on this, either with the touch screen or these dials, but I kind of prefer to have that joystick. But when it comes to previewing your image or even composing your image, that massive screen is absolutely brilliant. It's in a totally different league to this little screen here. However, there is one advantage that the Fuji has. If I do this, you can actually flip the screen up and down. It's got not full range of motion, but it's got more range of motion than the Hasselblad, which really just has that. That's all that you can do. So no, if you're composing a shot that's 8 feet up in the air, you can't flip this to angle down, whereas you can on the Fuji. Well, you could if I didn't have this annoying little clip here, but if I had my L bracket, I'd be able to get just as much. Oh, there you go, look at that. You can do that with the Fujifilm. So each camera's got, you know, different kinds of advantages over the other, but the thing is, once you've used that screen, you're spoiled. Going back to anything else but that screen, it just feels like a downgrade, I've got to say. One thing that the Hasselblad does though that really annoys me is, because everything's electronic and this lens is a focus by wire lens, if you get perfect focus, you've composed your shot, but you're waiting for the light to change. So to save battery, you switch the camera off. You lose your focus. When you switch it back on again, the focus is gone. But this doesn't happen with the Fujifilm because this has a mechanical focus wheel for this particular lens. But I'm sure that Hasselblad has some lenses that might not do that. There might be, you know, a focus wheel, mechanical focus, or maybe you can adapt lenses to go on it. But it even does that sometimes on my Sony with certain lenses. I can't stand having to refocus every time I switch the camera on and off, because as a landscape photographer, as today, I'm going to be stood here for hours waiting for the light to change. So of course I have to switch the camera off to save that precious battery life. Luckily on both of these cameras though, the batteries do last quite a long time. So I guess I could just leave it on, but being a stingy Yorkshireman, I can't help it. It's in my DNA.
The light was proving to be a little bit elusive.
There's also another shot to be had from the opposite side of the lighthouse, looking in this direction too. So I might, if I can climb down, if it's not too challenging, I might go and have a look around there and see how it looks from the opposite side. The sun's going to set, I think, probably over there, so you could get some lovely side light and it might light up the clouds perfectly. It might look just as good from the other side, so I don't know, but I think this would make a really good sunrise location. The sun popped up over there. Ooh, magic.
The other side of the bay was popular with wedding photographers, all making 4 times my annual income in just the summer. Perhaps it's time I had a career change. I mean, how difficult can it be?
Can you Photoshop out me double chin and make me look younger?
Well, yes, I can. That'll be $3,000, please.
It's now sunset and the light was absolutely spectacular as I was hobbling to get up to this spot, having stopped to have dinner at the camper. And then as soon as I got here, it kind of dulled out a little bit, but I'm hopeful it'll come back and give me some beautiful colour. It was all atmospheric and glowing and everything that I wanted it to be. And I wasn't there. Oh, it's great, isn't it? But anyway, the sun's going down over there, and when it does hit the lighthouse, when it does, it will be, some would say, magentic. And because I was in a bit of a flap trying to get here, I just got covered in sweat, wearing this wet jacket, smelling like a wet dog. I just set up one camera. I didn't have time to do both, so something inside me just said, this is a moody shot, use the Hasselblad. And I really like what I've framed up. Have a look at this.
You know, being a wedding photographer might not be that bad. I wouldn't have to spend the night in Cabela's car park, and I probably wouldn't have to wear stinky boots.
Those clouds are just blasting through the sky, but they're just starting to catch a little bit of colour now, and it's spreading. It's spreading out towards the lighthouse. Maybe you can pick this up. There's just a bit of colour in the background. I'm getting a little bit excited, actually.
Come on, rainbow, unicorn colors.
What do you think percentage-wise my chances are of getting the kind of light that I want here?
60-40.
Yeah, well, I'll take those odds. That's pretty good.
What odds do you think you are?
Well, I was going to say it's 50-50, but I feel like it's happening.
I think it's 70%.
Going up by the second. Okay, while I'm waiting for this magic to happen, one little tip I can give you, when you're shooting with a super wide angle lens, a lot of the time I like the lens distortion, the way that things lean out to the edges of the frame. Depending on what it is that I'm shooting, let's say I'm in a canyon, shooting a waterfall, it's kind of cool. But when you've got architecture, it's not great. So I know that I'm going to have to straighten up this leaning lighthouse in post. So because I know that, I'm composing my shot a little bit wider, because when I correct it and I kind of stretch the image and straighten it a little bit, the edges of the frames, the very edges of the frames, they're not going to look that great. So I'm probably going to crop the edges of the frames out just a little bit. I would say, you know, 4% of the frame maybe. So make sure that if you're doing this kind of photography, you compose a little bit wider than you think you're going to need, so that when you crop, you still end up with a composition that you actually want.
I know, you're thinking, Gavin, how can you give away such priceless tips for free? Well, if you want to help support this channel, you could always learn more about image correction in my course, Photoshop for Morons Volume 2. There's a link in the description.
So I'm back at my rose garden, absolutely beautiful. So if I just brighten this up a little bit, you should be able to see these, well, it's a lovely mix of green and these lovely pink roses. I think they're roses. Oh man, look at these waves just raging in right now. And then obviously in the middle ground are these crashing waves, and it's really picking up right now. And then of course in the distance is the lighthouse. I was hoping that behind it would be some glowing clouds. There's still time yet. There might be. It's a simple composition, but I like the three elements: foreground, middle ground and background. I just need that light, and then I've got an epic shot. You can see over on the right of the frame, maybe you can see if I just make this a little bit darker, some of the clouds are starting to turn a sort of pink colour. So I just need that just everywhere else. I just need it everywhere else. But I love how much there's like a haziness to the air from all of this ocean spray from the waves crashing. It just creates almost a misty effect. And I think what I'll have to do is probably focus stat this. So I'll take at least 2 shots for this foreground, because if I focus on the background, those are just blurred, even if I stop down to f11. And then I'll get those shots, and then I'll focus on the background and get those shots too. And then probably what I'll do when I've finished with all of that is switch it off the 2-second timer and go for just single shot mode with no delay, and then just hit the shutter as big waves start to crash, so that I can capture those moments of exploding white water. Because you know I love a bit of drama, me. Only in my photography. Anyway, if this shot turns out to be any good, here's a shot. We got kicked out of the park by the warden. They kick you out at sunset, not just after sunset. So that's great, yeah. Right, well, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the old like button, subscribe to the channel, don't forget to tickle my bell, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Get out of the park!
Are you people deaf or stupid?